Day to be alive, and I am so thankful for God, Jesus Christ, who lives in us. Today's video is titled, Is Bitcoin in an Eiffel Tower Trading Pattern? Before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing that I'm sharing is financial advice. I'm simply sharing dreams, visions, and interpretations that I feel God's given me as it relates to crypto. Now, let's get into the video. So the question is Bitcoin in an Eiffel Tower trading pattern? Why this particular trading pattern? Well, this takes us back to September 18th, 2024, to my Eiffel Tower market crash dream. In this dream, in a nutshell, I understood that I was watching the SPY S&P 500 ETF peak to the very top of the Eiffel Tower at a price of $667, and immediately after, I saw a crash. As of now, I understand that the S&P 500 ETF, according to this dream, should be looked at as an indicator. When you see the SPY hit this dream peak price of $667, look for the market crash to take place. Now, the amount I talked about this year as it relates to Bitcoin, using Bitcoin as a gauge to look at this 80% overall crash. When SPY peaks at this dream price, 667, look for the market crash to take place, 80% crash, using BTC as a gauge. Again, this is something that I've been sharing all year long as it relates to Luna rise timeline will cross paths with the market crash timeline. That is another message that I've been sharing in combination with this crash because it all goes together. Again, is Bitcoin trading in an Eiffel Tower trading pattern? Now, in 2024, when I had this dream, I had no idea what an Eiffel Tower trading pattern was. Didn't know that it was such a thing. And as I began to do my research, I found out that it was. And so what I'm doing in this video is putting all of the things that we've talked about in picture form. And based on that, where are we now? So in 2024, the S&P 500 was trading, I think, about maybe around $560-ish. And so it wasn't quite close to $667 like I saw in my dream. But again, this would be an indicator once this peak price, according to my dream, is hit. So this indicator would hit on September 22nd, when the S&P 500 finally reached that price of $667. It hit this price, but it did not hold. It wasn't until October 6th that the S&P 500 ETF hit that peak dream price of $667. And also on that same day, Bitcoin also hit an all-time high of $126,000. So October 6, 2025 was a very important date. Again, the SPY hitting its peak price based on my dream of 667 and holding. And then we have Bitcoin hitting its all-time high, October 6, 2025. Now, according to my dream, once that peak price was hit, that indicator for SPY was hit, then the market crash would happen. And it has been ever since October 6th that we have seen Bitcoin fall down from this all-time high. Well, getting back to the dream, getting back to the fact that the SPY is an indicator, once SPY hits this price of 667, then the crash will happen. Using Bitcoin as the gauge for that crash, 80% crash, what have we seen? Putting all this into picture form, what I have here is a monthly chart of Bitcoin, and I've input a picture of the Eiffel Tower to show the peak or the top as we look at the dream become a reality, using the date of October 6th, because again, both had that peak on this same day. Again, SPY would be the indicator. Once it hit 667, once it hit $667, that the fall or the crash, the market crash would begin. Again, using Bitcoin as a gauge for this 80% crash. And so this is what we see here. Looking at this picture, we see where we are as it relates to this Eiffel Tower trading pattern. I know that there are two levels to the Eiffel Tower, and we are nearing that first level from the ground. In my Eiffel Tower dream, immediately after the SPY hit 667, I began to see this large red candle fall down the middle of the Eiffel Tower. I believe this red candle represents a lot of the dreams that I have seen so far and I've shared so far. The October bottom, November top, for example. I shared how this dream gave me two specific dates where we would see the bottom of Bitcoin in a particular month and we would see the top of Bitcoin in a particular month. This is something totally different from the all-time high. In October, we saw a bottom of about 102, 104,000, Bitcoin falling from its all-time high. And then in November, we saw as Bitcoin tried to recover to that all-time high, but could not. And on that exact date of November 10th, Bitcoin reached a high price in November of 107 and has not gone higher since. And I have those prices based on those dates represented here so we could see where we were as Bitcoin began to fall in this Eiffel Tower pattern. So these dates will go along the first drop that I saw in this stream. My next stream in comparison to what we see here in this Eiffel Tower trading pattern for Bitcoin would be my dream about the 8% drop. During the time of this dream, Bitcoin was about 87,000. And based on this dream, I knew that it should go down to 80. And so the position to where that 80,000 should have been is roughly where I have it here in the picture. This would bring the final dream that I had about Bitcoin on May 28th this year, where I saw Bitcoin drop $10,000 in 5 minutes. And the number 71 to 61,000 is what I understood. And that would bring us here. And Bitcoin has been trading in this spot for a while now at about an average of $62,000. Now, this spot is very important because this is where I saw that red candle slow down in my dream. Right here where I have it circled here in yellow, that's where I saw this candle form into this type of candle. And it stayed in this area for a second until it began to fall again. And when it finally stopped, it stopped above my head. As I looked up, it was right in my face. And so this is where I get the 80% plus drop from. Comparing my height to the Eiffel Tower and where this arrow stopped, it was nearly on the ground. So based on this chart, this monthly chart for Bitcoin and putting everything together, Bitcoin is trading in an Eiffel Tower trading pattern, I believe. This shows us just how much more we have to go. I shared that out of the 80%, we were probably looking at close to 50. We've traded actually about 52% into 52% out of the 80% that we were looking for. I had just never thought to put everything into picture form. And so hopefully this kind of gives us a better visual of where we are when it comes down to this dream. Why did God show me the Eiffel Tower? It makes sense now as we put it together with this Eiffel Tower trading pattern. And now it also makes sense as to why he showed me the SPY and the SPY peaking in that dream at that particular price. And it makes sense to put it all into one picture to see exactly what it is that God is trying to say here. And again, from this, we can see how much more we have to go. And a fun fact that I want to share, that as I was doing my research, I think in 2025, when I was doing my research on this stream, going back, looking at it again, one of the things that I discovered was that during the dot-com bubble time, the ES main dropped from a price of 1,552 all the way down to a low of $667. Now, this happened in 2009. I thought it was very significant that it reached a low of 667. And in my Eiffel Tower dream, there was a high of 667. And because these two are closely related, I did not think that that was a coincidence. And for this reason, and because of these connections, last year I talked a lot about another dot-com bubble type experience, but this time it having something to do with AI. And I talked a lot about NVIDIA chip stocks. You know, could this be some of the reasons why we would see this market crash? Well, that is all that I have for this video. Until the next one, God bless.